If you've ever killed a teammate with a Phoenix due to a radar bug, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Ladies, gentlemen, and my most often forgotten, but certainly not by me, MTI users, welcome to the channel. Today, I want to talk a little bit about how the arrival of proper Fox 3 missiles is going to change simulator battles. What should we expect as far as meta changes, and will it make true BVR combat more viable? So first and foremost, I just have to address the elephant in the room, which is multipathing. When you fly close enough to the ground, it's virtually guaranteed that any missile launched at you will be spoofed, and that's called multipathing. That's very much the meta right now, at top tier, even in Sim, because of a couple factors. And the first being that a lot of maps are just completely flat, which makes multipathing possible because it's very, very difficult to stay close enough to the ground when you're going basically supersonic over hills and mountains and even trees sometimes. Now, another big factor is imbalance. So I'm sure more US players would fly higher if the Russians didn't have a missile that was just completely overpowered. The R-27ER is so broken that you can launch your missile 20 seconds before them while going Mach 1.5 at 10,000 feet above them, and an R-27ER will still hit you first. It's basically impossible to do anything BVR-wise against the Russians now because of this, and I'm sure that's a huge reason why we see so much multipathing in game now. As well as contributing to the balance thing, Russian radars and RWRs just aren't good enough for them to have enough situational awareness to not constantly multipath whenever they're locked. Okay? Because they aren't going to know what's locking them, and they won't know how far away it is. And so they don't really know what kind of threats they're facing and how big of a threat that really is. So they just have to play it safe in multipath. So my prediction here is that multipathing probably won't be such a large factor when Fox 3 missiles come out, because it's going to be a lot easier for US mains to cope when they can fire a missile and crank and go cold, right? Same thing for the Russians. Despite their radars having trouble at longer ranges, I think the fact that they'll be able to launch a missile and then go cold to outrun a missile will be a huge relief in the BVR realm. Okay? So even though these missiles are more powerful, they're more powerful because they allow you to turn and run. All right? When you're in a missile joust with Fox 1 missiles, your only recourse if they launch their missile first, when we're talking about two equal missiles here, your only recourse is to multipath or turn and run. But if you turn and run, your missile's not going to hit. With the Fox 3, it's different. So for that reason, I think multipathing isn't going to be as big of an issue. Just in general, I think the fact that you'll be able to cover your own 6 with a missile is going to be a huge boon to BVR players. Now, if you combine that with playing on maps like Afghanistan and Vietnam, multipathing probably won't even be worth attempting. So if people aren't multipathing, what's the gameplay going to look like? Well, it's probably going to be a bunch of people flying at medium to high altitudes, trying to give their missiles a large speed and altitude advantage against their opponents, but also trying to balance that with being able to terrain mask or being able to hit the deck if somebody launches a missile at you by surprise. All right? So you'll find an enemy, launch your missiles at longer range, and guide them while cranking, then go cold when they go pitbull, and re-engage to keep them from pushing you by launching another missile, right? So in a Fox 3 fight, I don't know, those of you who are familiar with like Fox 3s and DCS and BVR and DCS, the way that the BVR works is you'll launch your Fox 3, you'll start defending it, all right? Then once you've defended enough to where you've defeated their first missile, you've probably closed enough distance to where the missiles are getting more and more lethal. All right. So what you want to do is you're going to turn back to them to launch another missile to keep them from just completely just continuing to push you with missiles, because whoever defeats the opponent's missile first, or is at least satisfied with the energy that they bled away from that missile, they'll turn back and launch their missile first, and they will be at an advantage. So that's kind of how the combat works. The entire goal is to keep them from getting too close to you while your back is turned. Because then if they launch a missile while you're running away and it doesn't go Pitbull, and then you turn back and then it goes Pitbull, then you're in a lot of trouble. All right, especially if you've bled a significant amount of speed during that maneuver. I think the players that fly at lower altitudes trying to multipath in a mountainous map they'll just end up dead one way or another, even with Fox 3s, because if you allow an opponent to have a large enough altitude advantage, that missile will see you over the mountains, and eventually one will catch you when you're not multipathing, because you can't be multipathing all the time on these mountain maps. So that's going to be where you want to go if you want proper BVR, is maps like Vietnam and Afghanistan. Rocky Canyon, not so much, because even though it is mountainous, a lot of it's just flat. It's more like a plateau. And Afghanistan has a lot of flat open space. It has more mountains than, like, say, Rocky Canyon. It has more varied terrain, but there's still a lot of flat open space. Vietnam is a really good one. I think Vietnam is going to be the best map for this, and I'm really hoping that Gaijin can pump out some more maps like Vietnam for simulator battles. Now, what about the implications for the F-15? Because if you couldn't already tell, I'm a hardcore Eagle main. So the Eagle in-game that we have right now is using the APG-63 radar. All right? The APG-63 radar does not have TWS as it stands, which is going to be a huge problem when Fox 3s are added, because it will immediately be at a disadvantage to anything that does have TWS. So I don't know about the F-16A, but I know the F-15A. But I know the F-15C gets a TWS capable radar in the APG-63 V1, I believe it is. And it also gets an HMD at some point. So that's what I'm really interested to see, because the Su-27 we have in game already has TWS and an HMD. I'm looking for that joint helmet-mounted queuing system that we have on the F-16 to come to an F-15C this patch. So will they give us an American TWS F-15 to counter the Su-27? Who knows? It's Gaijin we're talking about after all, but it would be really nice to get the TWS, because otherwise I dare say Russia will once again be at a massive BVR advantage, having a platform capable of carrying, I don't know, 6 R-77s with a TWS mode. I don't know how many AMRAAMs the F-16 will be receiving, but it probably won't be as many as the flanker gets. My hope is that we get an F-16C early with its TWS and HMD. If not this update, then very soon, like the next patch. And then, of course, room for the F-15C late with its AESA radar, when those eventually come to the game. So, I'm not even going to get into AESA radars today, but I did see the War Thunder dev blog for this update. It appears that we may possibly be getting an Su-27 SM, which is just like a more modernized version of the Su-27 to carry Fox 3s, which makes sense. So we should be getting an F-15C, all right, with TWS, and hopefully it's HMD, all right? Now, in general, I think that the Fox 3 missiles will bring a positive change to the meta in simulator mode. Not an RB, but I'm not an RB player, so that's not my problem. Um, right now, who wins a fight between two aware fighters isn't skill. It's down to what terrain you're flying over. Because anybody can multipath on flat ground. A fucking monkey could do it. Um, Fox 3s are just going to give us more options to take in BVR combat and therefore add a little bit more skill and decision making to gameplay, which is always a good thing. So, that's it for today. If you guys liked the video, go ahead and subscribe, leave a like, a comment, and I will see you guys in the next video.